So it's been less than 24 hours since I posted the first video about my whaley. And the response has been phenomenal. What do you think? Trying to work on camera placement. Welcome to the garage. Today, I think what we'll do is I'll talk about sort of the origins and how I got to here and why I bought a whaley. What I think I'll do, since I really wasn't prepared, is I'll clean up the boat, maybe. And we'll talk about how we came to be the proud owners of a Whaly 435R. Obviously, in future videos, we can get into modifications in the engine, but can't even see anything right now. It's so junky. I apologize for that. So yeah, let's clean it up and talk about it. Basically, this is going to be my journey, I guess. And the first part of the journey was, when did I decide to buy a whaley? And what was the process like a year ago? You know, mid-COVID, mid-supply chain issue, especially getting the boat, for me, on the West Coast here through Long Beach, which was an ordeal, which was difficult. So mid-COVID, probably summer of 2020, I decided, I wanted to get on a boat and go fishing and just get out on the water. So I went on Craigslist and I found a small 10-foot fiberglass boat that turned out to be somewhat of a classic, actually, somewhat of a collectible. The boat's brand, which I didn't know anything about at the time, was called a Glass Par. And it was a fiberglass company, fiberglass boat out of California, where I'm located. And it was super light, or a super, I think it's called a super light. I'll throw some pictures up of that boat. And that got me into it. But I had a great time with the wife and my daughter, and I think my son at different times, because that boat's pretty small and pretty unstable, and you really can't put too many people or too much stuff in it. So that had me thinking, okay, I want to get a bigger boat, but I have storage limitations here at my house. I only have a small side yard, and at the time I had my truck in the garage, so I didn't really want to take up the garage space. The Whaley is in there now, but that's a long story. So yeah, it started off with the Glass Par, and then I knew I wanted a bigger boat here in San Diego. I guess I was looking at probably way too many YouTube sailing channels. So that made me look at a rib. And I was looking at different types of ribs. Got to looking at a channel, a YouTube channel of a guy that's taken a rib around the UK. Goodwin. I forget the name of the channel, but he's got this old lifeboat orange rib off of a tanker or something out of London, and he's refurbed and refit it, and he's taking it around the UK. Long story. That just got me thinking, okay, a rib with the tubes is probably the way to go for stability, when the boat's, not underway. So I was looking at YouTube channels, I was looking at that channel, the sailing channels, looking at ribs. And I was probably going to get a high field, I think was really what I was looking at. I liked some of the things that they were doing with the fuel tank storage up front, or a chain, like that could be a chain locker as well, like you have on the Whaleys. It's got like a little tunnel underneath the floor for your fuel lines or anything else to go through, which kind of gets rid of the clutter. Aluminum hull. So I was looking at a rib. Then somewhere along the line, I think I was looking at a channel, maybe Fisherman's Life or Rivers and Ridgelines or somebody like that. And I was like, what is this? This Whaley, this plastic boat, polyethylene, what is that? And so that took me to the Whaley website, or a couple of the YouTube videos, saw him hit it with a sledgehammer and drop it off the cliffs. And basically, in my mind, realizing that it was the best of both worlds. It's all the performance of a rib, but with the durability of a hard plastic like a kayak, like a sit in or sit on top of, like a rental kayak you get like at a rental place. They're made to, to be handled not well by multiple people. Obviously if I'm going to take care of mine, but that's just the kind of durability I was looking for in a boat. So the best of both worlds. So like everybody else, I went to the website, and if you go to the website, at least back then, it's obviously changed now. Back then, you go to the website, and a little pop-up comes up, a little chat window. You chat in there, you give them your information. I did that, and I think within the next day, or probably, I think less than 24 hours, I had gotten a response back. And I think that was Rebecca at Whaly USA had given me that response back. Started the conversation, trying to understand the pricing, how it works, financing, do I want to get money? I've got to get my own outboard. Again, talked about the supply chain issues, trying to get an outboard back then. I don't know what it's like now, but it was very difficult. I'll talk about where I got my outboard and how I had it shipped down from Central California coast to here. It sat in the garage, on the garage floor for 2 months before I could get the Whaly in. So that was another thing that we were waiting for. But so like I mentioned, I put the information in the chat window. I got the a call back or an email back from Rebecca. We started the conversation, and that's where things kind of went a little awry. More on my part because I didn't understand financing and how to get it, and whether they had dealerships to go through or anything like that. So naivete on my part. I've never bought a boat before, so I didn't know what I was doing. But at the same time, trying to get a hold and have them hold information. I'm used to whenever you put a purchase in for something, especially something this size, that whoever you're putting the order in with, they've created a file for you. They've got your name, your location, what you're looking for, your color preference, your timing of when you're looking to make the purchase, that type of stuff. So I talked to Rebecca and eventually Roy probably over the next month and a half. And every time I would call and talk to them, I would have to re-explain who I am, what I was trying to do. And it seemed to me like they were going off of memory. There wasn't a file of, oh yeah, you're looking for a 435 or 435R in this color. You're in San Diego. And here's the timing of when you want to make the purchase. Do you want it delivered? Are you going to pick it up at the warehouse? These type of details were absolutely not asked, not mentioned. And if they were asked multiple times because I felt like I was talking to somebody new every time I talked to them. And I don't want this video to rag on Whaly USA. I said in the last video that it seemed like they were just getting started. It was kind of just the two of them. And they were building out their network. And I'm happy to say that in looking at the website prior to this video, I absolutely went to the website and I see that they have multiple dealerships or contact locations. They've got Los Angeles, they've got West Coast, Southeast. I talked to, when I was doing mine, I guess one of their dealerships, first ones that they were trying to work with out of Boston, or somewhere out of Massachusetts, maybe Nantucket or something like that, or Martha's Vineyard, I forget. So they are definitely moving along. They've got a dealer network now, sounds like. So hopefully the purchase process is a lot better now. So fast forward to, okay, we've paid for the boat, and we're waiting for it to get here. I made some decisions on color choices. I thought at one point I wanted the dark gray, but I ended up going with what they call the mixed gray. I call it a light gray. It's a mix. It's got some black tones in it mixed in with the gray. If I'll try to bring the camera in closer or take a picture to try to show that for those that haven't seen that, what that color looks like up close. It comes off as like a light gray, a haze gray from afar, but if you get close to it, you can see a little detail in it, which is fine. Some people, I guess, didn't like that. I didn't have any problem with it. Of course, after getting it home, and having had the outboard laying on the garage floor for about 2 to 3 months, the thought was, or I was thinking, like, how am I going to do this? Should I do this? Do I want to pay somebody else to rig this boat? And I started at the time watching, again, YouTube videos on how do you rig a remote control system? How do you measure out your steering cable? How do you measure out your throttle cable? Where do you mount your, everything? And how do you do your electrical? So I was very intimidated. I'm pretty hands-on DIY. I do a lot of things, but this was something that I had never done before. Excited for the challenge, but really was like, okay, if I could pay somebody to do this, I'll pay somebody to do this. So I called around to a few places, and if you guys remember, I don't know if it's still that way, but during COVID, yeah, you couldn't get a boat rigged. I think the first place I called quoted me $1,000, $2,000 to rig it, and it was a 6 months wait for them to even look at the boat because they just had a back order of people that were working on boats. Boats and RVs just became very popular because of obviously social distancing and everything else. So that wasn't really an option. So yeah, I did it myself. So probably all for this video. Again, thank you all for liking and watching the video and hopefully I can do more. And next video I'll talk about I'll go further into the engine installation and setting up and what I wanted to do with building a tunnel down, the right hand side for the cables to go through and the electrical to go through, to just clean up the inside of the boat, setting up the gauges, setting up the console. We'll get into more detail. I'll talk about some of the decisions I made, modifications I made on the boat all around. Anchor, on like my second anchor. I got a Mantis anchor now. Had like a really cheap Amazon like grapple hook anchor thing before it didn't work at all. So I'll talk about some of the things like that we've gone through, the radios, the fish finder, and just the like. But that's my Whaley story so far. See you guys in the next one.